Okay, good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Okay. The skill we're going to learn and practice for today is intonation. But before we start with the main points, we've got to keep in mind that using and understanding English doesn't just come from using correct grammar and vocabulary. Native English speakers convey meaning in their sentences with pitch, the ups and downs. So the matters of the ups and downs in your voice and your pitch is something we call intonation. Now, what is intonation? Intonation, as a breaking down to the definition, is the use of pitch. And pitch is the rising and lowering of your voice. It's often called the music or melody of speech. So think of it in terms of singing. When you sing, your voice goes higher for high notes and lower for low notes. I demonstrate, but I'm not a very good singer. Okay, in English, we do the same thing with our voice while we're speaking. We can go high in our pitch, or we can go low. Did you hear the pitch change in my voice when I said this sentence? Okay, I'll say it again. We can go high in our pitch, or we can go low. Did you hear it? Hopefully you can hear it. Now, in English, the main job of intonation is to express the mood, intent, or the meaning of the message. Most of all, intonation tells us the exact meaning of the message. But let's skip a little bit and start with some of the examples about the high and low pitch. Please. Since your number is big, I'm going to pass it for 2 each. Now, as we said, we can go high in our pitch or we can go low. This depends on my intonation. For example, here are some examples in which I can use this sentence with a high and a low pitch. And there are some demonstrative arrows over here. Now, who can say the first sentence? Explaining and demonstrating the low and high pitch.
Yes.
Yes, please.
He bought apples, peaches, pears, and oranges.
Okay. In oranges, your pitch must go low. Okay? For example, he bought apples, peaches, pears, and oranges. Oranges. Okay? Not oranges. Oranges. Okay? Now, the second sentence. Yes?
I'll have 2 pencils, a black pen, and some ink.
And some ink. Yes. Okay, another? The third one? The third one? No, another, please. Or shall I choose randomly? Okay. Yes, please.
We went to Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, and London.
Again, please.
We went to Paris.
Look,
Brussels.
when you say Paris, your pitch must go higher. Okay? Must go higher. We went to Paris. Okay? Not we went to Paris. We are not speaking Arabic. Okay? Yes, again.
We went to Paris,
Yes.
Brussels, Amsterdam, and London.
Yes, now the pitch goes lower. Okay? Now, the example that is after that. Yes, please. Yes?
I saw Esther, Jane, Neil, and Susan.
Yes. Your pitch must go low and then goes higher. Okay? Again.
I saw Esther, Jane, Neil, and Susan.
Okay. Now, the last sentence, please. Yes?
I saw Esther, and Susan.
No. I needed patiently and slowly, showing the high and low pitch. Okay? Susan. Okay, thank you very much. Now, can you now understand how the pitch goes high and low at the same time and depending on my intonation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, what is the function of intonation? As we said, in English, the main job of intonation is to express the mood, emotion, or the intent of the message. Most of all, intonation tells us the meaning of the message. Now, in linguistics, scientists have shown or have identified three main types of the functions of intonation, which are the grammatical function, the attitudinal function, and the discoursal function. First of all, the grammatical function tells us the difference between the subject in the sentence and the other parts in the sentence. In other words, in grammatical function of intonation, we can divide the sentence into subject and predicate. Okay? Now, as for attitudinal function, it is a way in which I can understand the utterance of the speaker and clarify his intention of the message. For example, due to his intonation, I can understand whether he's happy, he's bored, he's annoyed, or he's jubilant. Okay? For example, can you please say a word or a sentence? Any sentence, randomly? Any sentence. Yes?
I saw Jane yesterday.
Okay, for example, can you please say it like you're extremely happy?
Oh, I see Jane yesterday.
Okay, so now, can you understand her emotion now? But how can you? From her intonation. Okay, now, please say the same sentence while you're angry. Okay, please, can you repeat the sentence for her?
I saw Jane yesterday.
Okay,
I saw Jane yesterday.
no, this is sad, not angry.
I saw Jane yesterday.
Yes, I saw Jane yesterday. Okay? Now, as for the discoursal function, it is used to contrast new information of what is already known to the speaker. How is that? For example, everybody knows, for example, that Omar is a friend of, what's her name? Usama. Everyone knows that Omar is a friend of Usama's. Okay? Now, as for me, I would go and ask him, is he your boyfriend? No. He isn't. So that is a contrast of new information to what is already known to all of us. So how can I ask him? Okay, I ask him using my intonation, yes, but in discoursal function. Okay? All understood? Is there a question? Okay, let's move on to something different. Okay, now, as we said, what is the main job of intonation? What is the main job? It is to express the meaning, the intent of the message. Now, a common saying in English is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. What does this mean? Can anyone please tell me what does this saying mean, please?
Maybe if I say yes, maybe it refers to a question if I say yes.
Yes?
And if I say yes, it's an answer maybe.
Yes, thank you very much. You've got another answer. Yes.
I think that with our intonation, we ensure in our sentence.
Okay, but what does this mean? It's not what you say. For example, say a sentence. I am angry. I am angry.
I mean, if I say I'm angry with the angry with our angry emotion, that will ensure my words to the person in front of me.
No, sir.
More.
You have missed the boat. No. Okay. Now.
It means that the meaning will change if I change the intonation.
Yes.
The
Thank
same
you.
words.
Thank
The
you
same
very
words.
much.
If I change the intonation, the meaning will change.
Yes. So it's not what you say. it's how you say it. This means that the words you use aren't important, but it's the way you use these words that actually expresses your meaning of the message. Actually, this might get you in trouble while you're speaking English. You might not be listening to the different changes in pitch that other English speakers use, which makes you misunderstand the whole meaning of the message. Okay? Now, again, if you don't understand how to use intonation correctly, you will not understand the true meaning of the message. Okay? Now, another problem is that when you don't understand how to use intonation correctly, it makes it much harder for native speakers to understand the true meaning of your message. For example, I'm an English person and you're Arabic, but you know how to speak English. For example, who will share me? I need a person to share me. No, I need another person. A person who hasn't participated yet. Or I shall choose randomly. Okay, random it is. Yes, please. Okay, now, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Okay, for example, if you don't say fine thanks in a correct intonation, I may not understand you. Okay? For example, are you happy? Yes, I am. You're not happy. Okay? So it makes it much harder for native speakers to understand the true meaning of your message. Okay? All clear? Yes. Let's move on to something different. Now, every word, every idea, every message is affected by the intonation that is used. Of course, the tricky part is intonation is not written anywhere in the sentence. Actually, intonation functions as the punctuation marks does or do in writing, right? Right? So the intonation functions as punctuation marks function in what? In writing. For example, are you happy when I say this? Can you see in my speech a question mark? No, you can't. So this intonation functions as the punctuation marks that function in writing. Okay? Now, one simple sentence, only one simple sentence, can mean several different things depending on the intonation that is being used. You don't believe me, right? Okay, let's see. Take a look at this sentence so that you can understand what I mean. He called me last night. I can say it as a statement of fact. He called me last night. I can say it as a question. He called me last night? I can say it like I'm extremely annoyed with this information. He called me last night. Or I can say it as if I'm extremely happy with what I heard. He called me last night. Or I can say it as if I'm surprised. He called me last night. You see? I could keep giving examples of ways to change the meaning of one simple sentence using my intonation. All clear? Okay, is there any question? Now, let's move on to something different. The intonation patterns. Actually, scientists have identified 4 patterns of intonation. But due to the shortage of time, we will not be studying all the 4 patterns. We will just study the first 2 basic parts. Okay? Now, what are the patterns of intonation? First of all, we have falling intonation. Falling intonation is when the pitch jumps slightly and then falls down at the end of the last word in a sentence. Okay? I'll say the definition again. Falling intonation is when the pitch jumps slightly and then falls down on the last word of a sentence. This happens in sentences that are commands and in sentences that are statements and in WH questions. let's see some examples of each of the uses of following intonation. Of course, the following intonation in commands sounds like this. Stop talking. Stop talking. Okay? You see, when I say stop, my pitch goes higher. But then, the last syllable of talking goes low. Okay? For example, someone of you speaks, please, or speak, please. Speak.
Stop talking.
No, speak something.
I am studying.
Stop talking. 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 Okay? You got it? So it is when the pitch jumps slightly and then falls down at the end of the last word in a sentence. Okay? Now, the following intonation in statements sounds like this. She works in a company. She works in a company. In a company. Okay? She works in a company. Now, I need one of you to say this sentence using the following intonation at the end of the last word in this sentence. I need some of you. Don't force me to choose randomly. Yes, please.
She works in a company.
In a company. You didn't use it. Again.
She works in a company.
She works in a company. Company.
Repeat it.
Yes?
She works in a company.
Yes, the last word?
Company.
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 Yes. Another, please? Yes?
She works in a company.
Yes, thank you very much. She works in a company. So, you know, the first key to pronounce correctly is, first of all, to speak silently or slowly, okay? Don't say, she works in a company. You will not have it, okay? But if you read it like this, she works in a company, you will get it, okay? Now, WH questions. Does anyone of you know what WH questions means? WH questions are questions that start with a question word, such as what, where, when, etc. Okay? Now, the following intonation in WH questions sounds like this. Where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? Okay? Have you heard the following intonation in the word live? Have you heard it? Yes. Now I need some of you to say it. Please? No? Yes?
Where do you live?
Where do you live? Okay, again.
Where do you live?
Thank you very much. Okay, again. Other students? Yes?
Where do you live?
No?
Where do you live?
Live.
Live.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Rahman?
Where do you live?
Thank you. Okay, now, did you all understand what following intonation means? Okay, now let's move on to the second pattern of intonation, that is rising intonation. Rising intonation is when your voice rises to a high pitch at the end of the sentence or a thought. Okay? It is when your voice rises to a high pitch at the end of the thought. So it is opposite to what? To falling intonation. Okay? It is opposite. At the end of the sentence or at the end of a thought, your pitch must go higher. Okay? Now, this happens in yes-no questions and in tag questions and in the dependent part of a complex sentence. Now, let's review some examples of each of these things. Now, the rising intonation in yes-no question sounds like this. Do you like him? Do you like him? You see, when I say him, I didn't say, do you like him? No, I'm asking. I am emphasizing non-finality. Okay? Do you like him? Okay? Now, I need someone to say the sentence, please. Yes, please.
Do you like him?
Yes. So it's not do you like him. It's like I'm expecting an answer. Okay? I'm expecting something from the speaker. Okay? Are you happy? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay? Now, the rising intonation in tag questions sounds like this. You're late, aren't you? Aren't you? You're late, aren't you? Okay? It's late, isn't it? It's early, isn't it? Okay? Now, I need some of you to give me an example of a rising intonation depending on these three things. Yes, please. For example, give me a sentence that has a yes-no question showing the rising intonation at the end of the sentence or the thought. Yes, please. Are you bored? Are you bored? You see? Rising intonation. Are you bored? Okay. Yes? Are you afraid? Yes. Yes, please.
Are you interested in singing?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. See, she said, are you interested in singing? Singing. So I'm not using my pitch down, okay? I'm using it up because this is a yes, no question. Now, the last case in which I can use rising intonation is in the dependent parts in a complex sentence. What is a complex sentence after all? Does anyone know the complex sentence? Three parts of the sentence, you know, the simple sentence, the compound sentence, and the complex sentence. What is a complex sentence? A complex sentence is a sentence that has a main clause and a subordinate clause, okay? Now, in the subordinate clause, the rising intonation must occur, okay? In the rising intonation must occur in the dependent part, in the subordinate part, okay? Now, let's hear some examples. Okay, now, if you call me, I'll answer. If you call me, I'll answer. If you call me, I'll answer. Okay, which is the dependent part and the support? Which is the dependent part and which is the main part in this sentence? Yes?
The dependent part is if you call me.
Yes, because it is not a complete thought. Okay? Yes. For example, if you call me, and which, in which sentence must the rising intonation occur? In the first one. No. In the dependent part. Okay? If you call me, I'll answer. If you call me, I'll answer. Okay? Is everything understood? Do you have any questions? Thank you very much. This was the end. I hope to give more, but due to the shortage of time, I couldn't. I hope you enjoyed the lecture and got benefit from it. Thank you very much.